A man and his two friends are riding on horseback through the mountainous terrain of Chile.
Someone get me coconuts.
It's getting late, and the horses are tired from a day of riding. Alongside a river, it's hard enough to hear yourself think, let alone hold a conversation with those around him. Across the river, he spots two men who look like they're setting up camp for the night, yelling out to him. But he can't hear a word. He shouts back, "Tomorrow," not really intending to do anything about it. But overnight, as he rests in bed, he can't help but think, why were they calling out to me? The next day, he rides back alone to the spot and finds the two men, in the light of the morning, looking rake thin like they've walked 1,000 miles. He throws a note and pencil stuck to a rock across the river and waits for the reply from the men. The note comes back with an unbelievable story. We were in a plane crash, and there are 14 people left in the plane. Can you help us? These men are survivors from a crash that will go down in history as one of the most infamous incidents of all time. This week on Icky Tales, we're covering the story of Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571.
No. Not Icky.
Sorry, when you said
It's been a nice day.
It has. We're here to ruin it.
when you said the part where he shouted across the river, you said that right. My first thought was like he shouted, "What's your name?"
Oh, not Icky Tales. We haven't done Icky Tales for a
I'm
while.
back with another Icky Tales.
Oh, I'm
no.
excited.
Yeah. And
It's
this is one of the ickiest.
It sounds like
Oh, not the.
it sounds like something might actually happen, not like one of his last Icky Tales where nothing happened.
Hey.
You were just sad that no one ate each other or got murdered.
Oh, it sounds like I'm going to be happy this time.
Oh boy, are you?
I don't like that. That's the benchmark. This is now the benchmark of John enjoying the story. Does someone get
needs to get
murdered?
eaten.
Or does someone get eaten?
Also, I think I'm 100% for eating tails.
At least a leg. Which reminds me,
Oh,
I seen an
cannibal
article
tail.
today. Some surgeon was fined for amputating his own legs.
Yeah, super weird.
That's so weird.
Yeah. Odd that you can be fined for doing that to yourself.
Yeah, right.
But anyway.
Anyway, happy Father's Day. We're recording on Father's
Happy
Day. So
Father's
It is.
Sean, happy Father's Day. Not you, Aaron. You
John,
suck.
Happy Father's Day
Thank
to
you,
you
Sean.
too.
I suck?
Yeah.
Wow.
Go on. Call yourself a cat dad. See what
No,
happens.
I will not do
See
that.
what happens.
You know, having three cats is like having one child, you know?
Happy Father's Day to everyone out there. You're doing a good job.
Well, not all of them.
It's been
Just-
like 2
Sean-
minutes.
Sean, do you just want to go and we'll just leave Aaron to tell the story by himself?
Yeah.
Didn't Ivan Milat have kids?
No, don't ruin. Don't ruin a nice sentiment.
Who's
That's it. I'm ending this week.
sorry. Who said he was a bad father?
What?
He just might have been a shitty person who said he was a bad dad.
Okay, John Savage, going on record as an Ivan Milat sympathizer. Didn't have that on the cards for this week.
And
This is
that
gonna
is
be
your
a tough-
2025 bingo.
It's a tough edit.
Well,
Put
after
words in my
John,
mouth like that. Jeez.
John just dropped that absolute
Okay.
bombshell.
All right.
Man alive.
I think it's time we get into the story.
Pretty sure you're the one that brought him up in the first place.
Oh, you said all dads are good.
I hadn't even thought about him for. Okay.
Hmm.
Also, didn't say that either. You can go back and check the tapes, people. Check the tapes.
They should.
I sound like Richard Nixon then, didn't I? Check the tapes.
Check the tapes. Actually, don't check them.
Don't check
But wait a minute.
Why did I check all the tapes?
Oh, no.
Oh, just a little bit
Oh,
of tapes.
no. The information is on the
Why
tape.
did I install that then talk over it?
Oh, you didn't say there was going to be tapes.
Yes, I did, sir. You asked for it to be installed.
Go back and listen to the Watergate episode. You'll get
It's a great
You
episode.
get lots of that. All right, well, the first section is titled The Game Played in Heaven Sends a Flight to Hell.
Yep. Wrap us up, boy. You put a little bow on us and nibble away on us with your story.
That was good. So this story starts just like many a childhood story in school.
Did you say it was Uruguayan Air
Uruguayan
Force?
Air Force Flight
So
571.
is this a military plane?
No. Well, it is a military plane, yes.
Okay.
I will get to why it's an Air Force flight.
Okay.
So the flight was a special charter for the Old Christians Rugby Union Club, a school with a rich rugby background in Uruguay, who were sending their old boys team to play against another old boys team in Santiago, Chile.
Sure. Rugby union. You love this story.
Yeah, as soon as he said the game played in heaven, I was like, that's what they refer to rugby union as.
Oh, really? I didn't.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Rugby's not mentioned after the first paragraph.
But for context, if you're Australian and
Boring.
you will have seen occasionally, you could get personalized plates in Queensland they're like rugby union plates, not a team, sports specific. It was a game played in heaven.
Actually, speaking of sports, my God, the Gabba next weekend is going to be rocking.
When the Lions
Take
come
on the
back.
Suns.
Yeah.
When the Lions have their last chance at staying in the finals.
Well, the Lions and the Suns are playing for a grand final spot.
No,
That's going to be...
No, they're playing for a
semi-final
semi-final spot. The Lions lost.
Well, then the news got it wrong when I was watching it today before.
Yes.
The news got it wrong?
Yeah, they said they were playing off
What?
for a grand final
I've
spot.
literally never heard of that
For a
happening.
chance at the grand final, maybe.
I mean,
Classic.
that's technically true, yes.
Anyway, it's going to be absolutely... Yo, I would not want to be driving past the Gabba
No.
next weekend.
Don't catch an
when
Uber
it's
near
on.
that.
Yeah. Sorry.
So
Someone said sports.
it was expensive to fly from Uruguay to Chile.
Mhm.
And with the Air Force offering charter flights, what?
Sorry. The clip of Homer just popped in my head.
Oh, yeah.
If you know, you know.
Grow up.
You might.
So the cheapest option was to charter an Air Force flight.
Yep.
So the rugby club's president would book the flight with the idea that any extra seats could be offered to family and friends.
Lovely.
In the end, there were 40 passengers and 5 crew on the flight, including pilot Colonel Julio Cesar Fernandez. Fernandez?
Fernandez?
Nope. 30 members of the team and 10 friends and family of the team members. The plane chartered was a Fokker F-27 Friendship, which is just a great name for a plane.
The friendship part or the Fokker part?
Both. Just a brilliant name.
Yeah, okay.
Can confirm in military aircraft recognition, it is referred to as the Fokker Friendship.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, they don't skip over that. They're like, nah, screw them numbers.
I don't think
It's the Friendship because it's got a nice nose. It's a happy looking plane.
Fokker are still around.
No.
No, I don't think the company's still around anymore.
No, they probably got bought by one of the others.
They were quite prominent in World War II.
They were also quite prominent for like prop middle-sized planes, which is not an industry that really exists now.
Was it German?
Okay.
All right, you look that up. So this plane was a twin-engine turboprop with a classic wing-over-fuselage design.
Yep.
The plane had a, let's say, less than stellar safety record, with Wikipedia listing 33 incidents for this plane alone. It had a fantastic nickname as well, the Lead Sled, thanks to its weight and relatively weak engines.
That is not a nickname of a plane you want to be getting on.
No.
Perfect nickname for what happens to.
Okay.
There was a stat that I read that was something like of the 80 of them that were built, 33 crashed or something. Like it was more than a third of the one of them ever built crashed.
Picture this, boy.
Picture yourself looking at.
You and I were going on a trip.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting onto a plane. We get our tickets. We rock up to the gate.
Are we having an airport beer?
Sure.
Are we getting a bite to eat?
We're sitting there having a bite to eat, having an airport beer. We got our tickets. It says what plane we're in. And I turn to you and go, did you know the plane we're about to get on?
Called the Lead Sled.
Its nickname is Blazing Ball of Fire.
Yeah. Its nickname is Doesn't Fly Good.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Its nickname is a third of all of these types of planes crash.
Yeah. I'm not getting on that.
No.
And then I say to you, oh, is it a Boeing 737-8? Get dunked, Boeing.
Oh, damn.
Take that.
Mr. Boeing is sitting somewhere at home at the moment, just, knife in his back.
When they hit the ground, they don't go Boeing.
Actually, they probably do.
Sorry to anyone that lost family members on those planes.
How insensitive of you.
Not cool.
Mate.
Not cool.
You're going to have the best time
What?
editing that out.
Not a chance.
Oh, come on.
So,
Damn, Sean's heavy on the edits.
yeah, he doesn't want me to say
He just
anything.
cuts all the fun and humor
Why
out.
does he want to gag me so much?
Say gag.
You just can do that when I leave.
You can't say gag. There are so many words that you just shouldn't say on podcasts or YouTube, and gag is one of them. Lubricate is another one.
Okay.
Well, then why are you saying it? Come on, Sean.
I'm intentionally saying it. Panties is another one. That's a good one.
Oh,
Oh, there we
All
go.
right, Charles.
Found the line. Found the line. Knickers.
that's our king now.
Knickers is
That's
worse.
our king. said
Knickers
that.
is worse.
Yeah, baby.
That is the
Knickers.
that is your top command. Who said that?
Yeah. If you want to know what we're talking about, go back and listen to the Lady Di episode. Princess Diana.
I've data dumped that episode.
So, this flight initially took off on Thursday, the 12th of October, 1972.
On the lead sled.
Yes, it did.
Mhm.
But as it got closer to the Andes mountain range, the weather took a turn for the worse.
Mm.
And it was forced to land in Mendoza to stay there for the night.
There's a bad joke there. Andy's mountain range is Buzz and Woody sitting up there.
No.
Bad joke.
Miss. Yeah. I was going for like a battleship joke.
Yeah.
Like, miss.
On the morning of Friday the 13th, too spooky,
Woo!
Oh,
the weather still hadn't improved. But by the afternoon, it was looking good.
Was it foggy?
It was foggy. It was stormy. It was not good. But in the afternoon, it was looking good.
Oh.
So the flight took off again to start the final 90-minute leg to Santiago at 2:18 p.m. While Mendoza is almost directly east of Santiago, I did mention that there were some mountains in the way.
Mm.
The big
Andes.
the big boys of South America, the Andes. If the plane were to fly directly west, it would need to go over the top of the Mount Aconcagua. That's not how you say it, but good luck working that out yourself. A 7,000 meter behemoth that wouldn't leave much room in the plane's service ceiling. Rather than risk that, the regular route would fly a U-shaped course, cutting south from Mendoza, west above some shorter mountains, and then north again to Santiago.
Are you ready, Sean?
it's a Concagua.
Oh,
It's a
no,
Conqua-
stop.
Aconcagua?
I've got it. Are you ready to say it?
Go. What? For a Concagua.
That was a bit weird.
I just want to put a bit of pressure on him.
Amazing.
It is not that easy to say. I
No.
found the phonetic spelling of it. I'm like, oh no.
By 3:21, the pilot, Ferrades, had handed over flight controls to co-pilot Lieutenant Colonel Dante Hector Laguarua.
You have the controls.
So that the co-pilot
And then-
could gain some experience.
The co-pilot would say, I have the controls.
Yes. Except this time he said a lot worse.
Oh.
While the weather was clear enough for flight, it wasn't clear enough for visual flight conditions.
BFR.
So they were using instruments to keep track of their location. Ferrades would make a call to the cabin that they were about to enter some turbulence and then radioed into air traffic control that they were a minute away from their next check-in. Actually, they were 60 to 69 nice kilometers away, having made their turn to the west and to the north too early. At this point, they believed they had flown away from the Andes, but they were still right on top. In cabin, there wasn't any clue that anything was wrong. The passengers were still taking photos, some of which are incredibly haunting today, knowing what was to come. The last photo from inside the plane will be in the photos that we put up on social.
Supplemental content.
That's it. As the aircraft started its descent, they hit the promised turbulence. As they flew on, as one of the survivors recalled someone saying, "We seemed too close to the ground." And they were right. Suddenly, the pilots realized their mistake as a mountain ridge came out of the clouds in front of them. They would put the plane to full power and pull back on the stick so the plane was almost vertical. Unfortunately, as I said before, the engines on the Fokker weren't up to the task and the plane started to stall. As the ground collision alarm started to blare, there was no doubt in the cabin what was about to come next. What they were heading towards was a glacier. And while the nose of the plane made it over the ridge, the tail section didn't, clipping the ridge at 3:34 p.m. at an altitude above sea level of 4,200 meters.
That's pretty unlucky to
Just
technically
clear it and then clip it.
Yeah.
The entire tail section was torn off, including 2 rows of seats, which contained 3 passengers, the navigator, and a flight attendant. Next, the right wing smashed into the ground, followed by the left wing, tearing both off. It would crest another ridge, now throwing the people from the plane as it went, and started a 725-meter sled ride down the mountain. That's why I said the lead sled. When the fuselage finally crashed into a snowbank, it would kill the pilot immediately, crush the co-pilot, and force all the seats in the cabin forward into the forward bulkhead, injuring and killing many left inside. The plane had come to rest 80 kilometers away from its planned route at an elevation of 3,675 meters, which is about a K higher than the highest mountain in Australia.
Mhm.
So if you've ever done Kosciuszko, imagine half of it again on top. That's where they were in this crashed out plane.
You say it's the plane had a bad record. Seems to be kind of like pilot error at this point for this plane.
Yeah, this one was.
Wasn't like a mechanical
Yeah, they just didn't know where they
malfunction.
were,
Yeah.
which, most accidents are that.
Which is, very similar to the F-16 crash. I don't know if you've seen the footage of the F-16 that was practicing for an air show in Poland.
Yes, I did see that.
It was, he started his maneuver about 600 feet lower than what he should have because the airfield was 600 feet above airfield.
I did hear that. He was using the radio. He wasn't using the radio altimeter.
He was using the air altimeter. So there's two
Air
altimeters, one that does air pressure, which takes it from sea level, and one that does radar, so which bounces it off the ground to give you how high off the ground you are. And he used the wrong one and, unfortunately crashed.
So, injuries on board were varied but gruesome.
Mm.
Those that died mostly died of injuries from the crash itself, but one notable difference was Carlos Valletta, who survived being ejected from the wreckage as it slid down the mountain, but as he made his way down towards the fuselage, fell into deep snow and asphyxiated.
Okay. I thought you were going to say something like he fell into a bear's den or something.
No, but imagine you survive
A plane
that
crash.
and then you just fall in snow and die.
Yeah.
Which also made me think of when we went on that hike through the snow and we just suddenly went into
Like really soft snow or
nut
something.
deep snow and if that had just kept going.
Waist deep. Why?
Nah, didn't quite get to the waist.
Didn't get to the waist.
But why use that as the reference point?
Much
Perfect
like the
reference.
mountain range they're in, it hit Andy's nuts.
Boom.
You feel free to cut that.
No, that's staying in. That's quality
really good.
content.
That's high quality comedy.
When you tap on Andy's in Wikipedia, it shows you how to say it, and it's AN-DEEZ.
D.
I'm like,
Andy's.
Andy's.
All right, back
Say
to the
it. T's nuts.
All right, back to the gruesome.
Sorry,
bits.
Back
people
to
have just died, Sean, and you're making nut jokes.
Oh, here we go. Makes the Boeing joke.
That was me.
That was.
I'll take credit for that.
We're going to get demonetized.
Oh no.
Oh. Wait, you're making money off this?
Yeah. Where are
You
getting
guys
money?
aren't?
Those who hadn't died had a variety of broken legs, ribs, arms, and skull fractures.
Yeah, I'm sponsored by 3 Mobile. You guys aren't?
Skull fracture, Sean. Skull fracture. Come on.
You know what doesn't give you a skull fracture? Good
Three
mobile
mo-
coverage.
Good mobile coverage. Moving into today's sponsorship video. Here I am talking about the sponsorship in a slightly different
Maybe-
shirt.
Maybe 3 Mobile would because their phones are old and brick sized.
Exactly.
Ooh, get donked. One passenger was even pierced by a piece of metal, and
Oof.
when it was removed, it pulled out some of his intestines.
Ooh.
Oh.
One notable injury was that of Nando Parado, who suffered a skull fracture and was left unconscious. He was left outside with the rest of the dead, with the passengers thinking he was soon to die. 3 days later, though, he came to, with the cold of the snow having to manage to keep the swelling in his brain in check long enough for him to recover.
Handy.
Yeah. Handy in the Andes. Aside from that piece of good news, there wasn't much else. Of the 45 people on board, only 33 people survived to see the first sunrise after the crash.
That's not too bad.
Not
really.
awful for a plane crash.
Yeah.
But the survivors were now alone on the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
waiting to see if anyone would come to help. In the meantime, they would try and assess their situation. They had no warm clothes, many were injured, and they didn't seem to have much in the way of food. After gathering all the supplies left on the plane, they had only 8 chocolate bars, 3 small jars of jam, a tin of mussels, a tin of almonds, a few dates, some candy, dried plums, and several bottles of wine.
The in-flight service on this plane seems
Seems
terrible.
awful.
It
It's
is.
a bit weird. Here's your jam and mussels.
I suppose it is a military plane they've chartered. It's not like a commercial plane
Yeah.
you'd expect. Where's
Might have also just been food that they brought with them.
Where's the beer and whiskey?
Well, there was wine,
Okay.
and they later found a bottle of white rum.
Is that in the pilot's personal stash?
No, we'll get to it.
Okay.
The search falters and the fight for survival continues. It would take just an hour for the authorities to raise the alarm, with 4 aircraft starting the search from the plane's last known position.
I mean, that's still a long time for a plane crash.
I mean, kind of, yeah. But remember, there's no radar. Like, they didn't have radar. I never said that. They didn't have radar at the airport.
Okay.
So they didn't really know where the plane was. And there's like a certain amount of time that you just kind of expect them to not be
so
there.
when a plane leaves one air traffic control tower, there's probably empty space until it's meant to check in at the next one where it's going. Especially if it's going over a mountain range, whereas I'm going to assume there's nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that makes sense.
There was only one problem. The plane wasn't at its last known location. The search was happening in Chile when the plane hadn't even made it out of Argentina. Obviously, they didn't find it. And the next day, 11 aircraft took part in the search, this time expanding the search area and in fact covering the site of the crash. Survivors reported hearing the aircraft overhead and attempted to write SOS in lipstick on the top of the fuselage and laying out their bags in a large cross. Unfortunately, despite having planes overhead 3 times, they were never spotted in the white plane on white snow.
Okay.
And like when you see photos of it later, you kind of get it.
Yeah.
There are photos of them being found, and you look at it and go, ooh, yeah, I kind of get how they missed that when they're in a plane.
Yep.
While this was going on, the survivors were doing their best to try and give themselves every chance of survival. They had pulled all of the broken seats and wreckage from inside the fuselage to make a makeshift shelter and used the luggage, seats, and snow to block the open end at the tail. The seat covers were used as makeshift coats, and the seat cushions were used as snowshoes. One of the passengers made a solar-powered water collector to melt snow from broken sheet metal.
That's some ingenuity happening there. That's not bad.
Yeah. Someone made sunglasses out of green plastic visors from the cockpit and a bra fabric to combat the snow blindness.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah. Despite their resourcefulness, though, they were still way out of their depth with no survival training or alpine experience. No medical supplies, and with most of them injured in some way. Morale was further dented by another 5 deaths in the next 24 hours.
Oof. And most of these people obviously they all know each other.
Yeah.
It's a football team.
Yeah.
It's not a group of strangers on a plane together. I guess they're all known.
Well, Nando Parado, the one that had the skull fracture and got left in the snow, he had his mother and sister on the plane.
Okay.
And his sister died after he woke up.
Oh. Spoiler.
During their search for supplies, they also found an AM radio wedged between 2 seats. After improvising a long antenna, on the 11th day, they would switch on the antenna with the hope of hearing some good news about their search for them.
So they've been in the snow for 11 days now?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Already. Yeah. They would be devastated to learn that nobody was coming.
Those mussels aren't lasting that long.
No. There was a story of one guy eating a single chocolate-coated almond over 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah, just like... Ugh. Back to the search. They had been at it for 8 days with no trace of the downed flight. They had only flown over the site on the first day, so they had clearly decided to focus elsewhere. As weather conditions worsened and the search hit its 8th day, the search was called off by the authorities with the plan to search again for the bodies when the snow melted in December.
Okay.
This would be broadcast out through the media over the next few days, devastating the family of those still unaccounted for, as well as those at the crash site.
Yeah, it's bad when they're just already... It's a recovery search, not a rescue search.
Yeah. And they just go, oh, we can't do it for 3 months. Like, ugh. Hearing this, many survivors would break down in tears.
And they're hearing it on the radio too. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. 11 days in too. So they've already been there 11 days and they finally hear this.
And they're hearing, we'll find the bodies. Oh. That's got to suck.
As the group started to be overcome with despair, one of the survivors, Gustavo Nikolic, would look at it a different way. He would say, that's some good news. They've called off the search. That means that we're going to get out of here on our own. Maybe just a little bit of courage, but a whole lot of delusion. But it turned out in the end, he'd be right.
Kind of. Because instead of just sitting around waiting for someone, it's like, okay, now, because you'd have that indecision, wouldn't you? You'd be like, do we go?
Yeah, do we do something
take
about
off?
it or do we just stay in place?
So wait, and now they know they have a definitive decision made.
Yeah.
We're going to do it ourselves.
They do say that you are safer staying where you are if there's a search for you.
That's correct. If there's a search for you.
To an extent. Yeah.
And if there's no search for you in this circumstance,
Yeah. Got to do something. Okay, so what we just cut out quite a lot because I said a title that we didn't agree was good. And I agree with that. John thought it was good. Sean didn't. I'm okay to err on the side of caution. So I've renamed this section.
but we also then went through a series of other titles and
They got worse.
we crossed some lines. We crossed some personal lines.
Yeah, they got pretty bad.
They got pretty bad.
Anyway, this section is now titled Fava Beans and a Nice Chianti. The meagre supplies they had found in the wreckage were all gone by the end of the first week, despite serious rationing. With things starting to get desperate, the survivors started turning to alternative methods looking for food, like trying to eat the leather of their belts, which
Ooh.
just made them sick, and eating the cotton stuffing from the plane seats.
Oh,
Being so high up in the mountains, there was no vegetation or animal life around to hunt or gather, and so they were left with only one terrible option.
no vegetation or wildlife.
No.
Nothing.
They're above the
No.
tree line.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get that on Kosciuszko.
They're
even.
so high up.
Yeah.
4,000 watt-ish. 4,000-ish meters up.
3.6.
3.6, yeah. It's high.
You, even on Kosciuszko, like remember, there's no vegetation once you get up there.
Yeah, true.
I think there's still like grass and stuff, but
The Andes
higher.
contains the Atacama, like that elevated desert where there's nothing. There's no bacteria. It's so high and it's so dry that it's never, ever, ever rained.
Yeah, right.
The Andes is a very
I
unique,
just assume there would still be like bugs or something.
No.
You could,
super unique
like you
part
said,
of the world.
grass.
nothing.
Super unique part of the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, right.
Amazing.
The first person to raise the idea was Nando Parado, who told the others that he would start with the pilot. The decision wasn't made lightly, with a lot of praying to God for permission, as well as consideration over who would be eaten and who wouldn't. Parado's mother and sister had been killed in the crash, and their bodies were put aside to be preserved.
I'm not eating Nando's ever again.
Boo.
Don't-
After
Don't tell me he's the guy that invented the Nando's restaurant.
no, jeez.
If that's where he started at in the food industry.
Up next on Cheeky Tales, shocking twists.
Now we're taking down Nando's. After the group had largely decided that they had to do what had to be done, Roberto Canessa would find a sharp piece of broken glass and set to work cutting some flesh to eat. Without the ability to light a fire, they would have to eat the flesh raw. So the group stood and solemnly ate their first pieces of their comrades. Roberto Canessa would describe the feeling of those first bites. Your mouth doesn't want to open because you don't want to swallow a piece of a dead person. And then I thought of my mother, and she told me that if one of her sons would die, that she would die herself. So I said, for not giving up, I have to eat this piece. I just swallowed it, and nothing happened. And then he got a bit weird about it. The first bite for me is like your first sexual relation.
Oh,
You have lots of expectation, lots of things going to happen, and then it happens, it's over, life goes on. The taste is like raw meat from a cow or whatever. It's a bit weird.
I
It
know
was
you
nice. He ruined it.
Yeah.
It was nice. I don't want to buy his memoir now. I'm good.
I know you don't like this, Sean.
No, this is 10 out of 10, Icky. It's 11.
But in this situation,
Yeah.
you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
It's to survive.
And this is where I was going with it, right? So I think I cover it. Yeah, I cover it in the next paragraph. So I'll skip that. But they made a pact with each other that like, hey, if I die, eat me. And so they were kind of like making a deal with each other that they'd do it. So I just want to say, boys, eat me. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
If we're lost in the Andes,
In a survival situation.
you may eat part of me. Please wait a few days.
Oh,
Don't
I was
just do
gonna
it
say,
straight away.
he didn't just clarify that. So, like, he could still be alive. He just said eat a part of it. We could cut his leg off and eat
If
him.
I die,
Okay.
The element of my favorite game of self-regenerating chicken schnitzel hand all over again. That's a little bit for later.
Just cut off part of his liver and we'll wait for it to regrow and eat it again.
Mm-hmm.
So not everyone would eat on that first day, with some holding out due to the horrific nature of the act.
Yeah.
But eventually they would all succumb to their hunger and start consuming. They would eventually turn to drying out the meat on the fuselage of the plane to try and make it easier to eat. But of course, they were always eating people, and they knew it. There's even some photos from the crash site where like you can see the meat drying in the background. Yeah.
What part of a person are you eating? Buttocks?
You got to go muscle. I don't want to think about this now that I've said it.
This bit's going to get.
It's going to get icky. But these people had to make that decision. What are you eating?
They said they started with skin.
In the fantastic psychological thriller Hannibal Rising, he describes the cheeks are the most tender part.
I don't think there would be
like that.
a lot of calories in just skin.
Well, that was the thing. They started with skin and then they moved on to everything else. They even ate like brains and hearts and stuff.
That'd be better off eating. I'd be all right with organs.
I don't know if I could eat
I don't think I could eat brain.
Or brain.
Brain has a texture about it.
I couldn't eat brain.
Now, I say brain has a texture about it as if I've eaten human brains. Let's clarify. I've eaten sheep's brains,
Yes,
which is quite
sheep's
common.
brain, yeah.
There's a sandy texture to it, and I can only assume, as an educated assumption,
It's probably about the
it's
same.
probably about the same.
The thing is, like, we're talking as though we have a choice. Like, they didn't really have a choice.
No.
I know they didn't have a choice, but like heart, human heart.
Yeah.
Like I'd think, like you said, muscles. You'd go the large muscle groups, legs, calves,
Yeah.
buttocks, pecs. I wouldn't have thought brain or heart.
The next section is called This Mountain Really Hates These Guys. At least with a source of food, they were now able to survive for a while longer. And that seemed to piss off the mountain, as the 18th night was disturbed by an avalanche barreling down the mountain to hit them. The snow would enter the fuselage and fill it, burying 27 of the survivors in their sleep. There was 28 alive at this point.
Oh,
Roberto Canessa and Nando Parado were two of the buried, and they both reported feeling that this was the end. In Nando's words, he said that he only had a few moments left of his life before he suffocated, until the one guy that hadn't been buried, Roy Harley, scratched the snow off his face to allow him to breathe. Roy then moved on.
MVP. What a
Yeah.
play of the match
Yeah.
right there. What a champ.
Roy then moved on and found Roberto's arms sticking out of the snow and pulled him out. This went on, and as people were freed, they would help dig out others, eventually saving 19 of the survivors, with 8 sadly passing in the night. After they had pulled people out of the snow, they suddenly realized that with only 1 meter of air gap above the snow, they would quickly run out of oxygen, and so poked out a window in the front of the fuselage for air. That let them survive the night, and the next morning they dug a tunnel to the surface out of the cockpit, but found that there was a blizzard raging outside, and they were forced to stay in the fuselage for the next 3 days, surrounded by the dead bodies of those that had suffocated.
In snow.
Yeah.
So they're preserved.
Yes. They would have to eat these bodies on the 3rd day trapped, making the scene especially grisly. So they survived for 3 days before they're like, we've got to eat someone in here now too. And so off they went.
Yeah, that would not be a great. I'm picturing at that point a rescue party shows up and you walk down into this scene, you'd just be like, whoa.
Yeah.
There would not be a great spot,
Yeah.
like a scene to walk into.
After the blizzard passed, it was clear that they would need to work out how to get themselves rescued. And so it was decided that they would pick the strongest of the survivors, prepare them for the trek, and then send them to climb the mountains to go get help. The co-pilot had repeatedly said before he died that they had passed into Chile, and they must be close to a town to the west. But with a huge mountain in the way, they decided that was impossible, and so they would head east to start with to see what was there. Roberto Canessa, Nando Parado, who remember had almost died, and Antonia Vizentin were selected for the journey and were given increased meat rations and the warmest clothes. They were also excused from helping out the site so that they could train and conserve their energy. After waiting a week for the summer temperatures to start to arrive, they would set out east to try and find help. And now we get to the Eastern Trek. They set out on the 15th of November and started heading downhill from the fuselage. After just 1.6 kilometers of walking, they found the tail section of the plane, which still had the galley intact. They were able to find chocolate, white rum, Coca-Cola, ciggies, clothes, comic books, medicine, and the aircraft's batteries. They spent the night in the tail section, lighting a fire and reading comics, presumably enjoying some food that wasn't human flesh as well. The next day, they would attempt to continue their trek, but after nearly freezing to death on the second night, they turned back with the idea that they would take the battery from the tail back to the fuselage to attempt to use the radio to call for help. So they had the aircraft's radio back at the main site. Once they got back to the tail, though, they found that the batteries were 24 kilograms each and far too heavy to carry. They would decide to go back to the main fuselage and bring the radio back to the tail. When they got back, Roy Harley joined them to help as he had experience with electronics. They spent a number of days trying to get it to work, but unfortunately the batteries were 24-volt DC power and the radio needed 115-volt AC power, and so it was never going to work with the equipment that they had left. So they kind of just couldn't make it work.
Mhm.
They obviously didn't have the inverters and stuff required to get that working.
The radio's running off the power generated by the engines.
Well, I think the batteries in the back are designed just to start the motors. They're not supposed to power
Not
anything.
supposed to power anything, yeah.
Yeah. That must have been pretty devastating.
Mhm.
You're like, we're onto something. No, we're not. Never mind.
It's wasted a couple of days.
Yeah. In the days of this Eastern trek, 3 more survivors succumbed to their injuries, leaving just 16 alive of the original 45 on the plane. With their last hope for external recovery now gone, the only option they had was to climb the mountains to the west and try to get to civilization. And now we get to the Western Trek. To survive the trek up the mountain, they needed a way to safely survive the freezing cold nights. So a sleeping bag was fashioned out of insulation from the rear of the fuselage, electrical wire, and the waterproof fabric that surrounded the plane's aircon unit. Again, Roberto Canessa, Nando Parado, and Antonio Vizintin were selected for the journey, but this time Antonio Vizintin would turn back early to help conserve the supplies that Roberto and Nando would need to make the climb. They would bundle up some human meat and rugby socks and set off on the 12th of December. Little side note with Antonio Vizintin, when they decided to send him back, they were basically at the top of the Western Mountain, and he was like, well, you know what? I'm going to sled back. So he had like a door from the plane and used that as a sled to like get his way back down to the... So he got back in like a couple hours.
Cool.
It would take 3 days for the 2 men to climb the first mountain to the west. Keeping in mind they had no mountain climbing experience and no equipment and were now 2 months into their ordeal, this was an incredible achievement.
That's a long time. Like, to be in a crash plane.
Yeah. Sadly, they had expected to reach the top of the mountain and see a green valley with roads and towns, but the pilots had been wrong. They were still deep in the Andes Mountains, and all they could see were mountaintops. After a few moments of despair, Parado would say to Canessa, "We may be walking to our deaths, but I would rather walk to meet my death and then wait for it to come to me." Canessa would reply, "You and I are friends, Nando. We have been through so much. Now let's go die together."
Picture of sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah. They're actually like surprisingly poetic men.
Mm.
Yeah. They would decide to continue on, aiming for a narrow valley they saw in the distance. It would take 7 days to reach it, but when they got there, they found the source of a river, so they started to follow it.
Usually follow water will take you to
will
civilization.
find someone.
Yep.
Yeah. They would eventually find the snow line, then an empty can of soup, then some cows, and finally, when setting up camp for the night, the 3 horsemen across the river. The next day, one of the horsemen would return, throw the stone over to them, and set off on a 10-hour ride to the nearest town to get help. Why do you find that bit so funny?
It's just, I could just imagine these 2 blokes, right? The ordeal they've been on. They come across other people.
And they're just like,
Help us!
tomorrow.
Help us! And then these other guys go off camp, come back in the morning. You guys right? No! 12 hours later.
Yeah.
No, we're not okay.
He, a little funny story, that there was an interview with both of these guys, and that he was like, the guy threw us bread as well. So he like hucked bread over to them and then went off on his 10-hour trek to find someone. And the guy's like, the first guy is like, I think it was Canessa. He was like, yeah, Nando said that there was 2 pieces of bread. When I talked to the guy that rescued us later, he said that he threw 4. So Nando's like eating too quickly and he's like, only 2 bits of bread. Bit of a dog move.
Yeah. Maybe right. He's got a bit of pilot still or whatever.
So then they asked Nando and he's like, oh, did Roberto say that? I'm pretty sure it was only 3, but yeah, I did eat an extra one. It was like a bit cheeky between them. Canessa and Parado had traveled 53.9 kilometers and had climbed 839 meters up the mountain to the west and then descended 1,425 meters back down to meet the horsemen. Canessa had lost half his body weight, weighing just 44 kilos when they were rescued. They were found on the 21st of December, 70 days into the ordeal. Over the next day, the Chilean Air Force sent 3 helicopters out to meet Nando and Roberto and interviewed the two to find the crash site. Once the fog lifted on the 22nd, Nando would accompany 2 of the helicopters to the crash site to finally start the rescue proper. The helicopter could only touch down with 1 skid, and due to the weight limits, the 2 could only take half the survivors. 4 rescue workers would stay with the remaining survivors for the night and would photograph and map the area of the crash. On the 23rd, the last of the survivors would be lifted off the mountain more than 2.5 months after the crash. They would all be taken to hospital and be evaluated for treatment, and despite their ordeal, as of today, there are still 12 of the 16 that made it out of the mountain alive. The aftermath. In the days after the survival of the group was discovered, the media descended on them to hear the story. Obviously, one of the biggest questions was, how did you survive with no supplies? There was this interview, they're like, what did you eat? And they put the mic to him and he just goes, And he looks at one of the other survivors and he's like, we don't want to talk about that right now. It's
Fair.
like, ooh. Initially, the group were planning to discuss the actual details with their families and those of the deceased, and so said they had survived on cheese and the local vegetation. But on the 23rd of December, a newspaper posted photos taken from the crash site of half-eaten legs, and the story got out. The group were immediately under fire from the public and faced a huge backlash. But on the 28th of December, they held a press conference to express their side of the story, particularly that they had agreed that they would allow themselves to be eaten if they died. They would also get the blessing of priests and even the Pope to say that they wouldn't be damned for what they had done, and this, along with their own testimony, managed to sway public opinion. The families of those eaten were also largely supportive of the survivors, understanding the position they were in and the desperate nature of the decision to eat each other. So if you see these guys talk about it, they're clearly like, we had to do this.
Yeah.
There was no alternative. And they're very, like, you can tell they hated it.
Mhm.
They talk about it very openly and very bluntly. They're like, yep, we ate them. It was gross. We didn't want to do it. We had to do it to survive. We were very respectful about it. And you just watch it and go, oh, yeah, like, makes sense. Of course you had to. Move on. Like, yeah.
It's a matter of survival. It's not like they're just like, we've got all these hamburgers that are frozen, but
Yeah, there was no other option.
But old Jimmy.
Jim Bob over here, he's looking good.
Mm. Those that were left on the mountain dead were eventually buried in a mass grave. The Argentine government and the families of the victims agreed to have a grave dug 400 meters to 800 meters from the wreckage, with a priest blessing the burial in private without even the families present. The side of the grave is now a stone monument topped with a cross, as well as a simple rock pile topped with a plaque. They also set fire to the wreckage. They doused it in petrol, set fire to the plane to try and like get rid of the fuselage. But they said that in 1995, the bottom half of it that was below the snow it was still there.
Yeah.
And even today, I saw a Channel 7 did a story on it, and they sent someone up in a helicopter, and there's still like windows and stuff from the plane and like little bits of wreckage here and there. And it's really like quite graphic to see it.
Mm.
You're like, oh, this happened here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A small group of the survivors have continued taking interviews and talking about their experience, in particular Roberto Canessa and Nando Parado, who made up quite a lot of the information for this podcast. So their interviews were pretty much what I based this on.
Yep.
As well as Wikipedia, I'll be honest. Their honesty and bluntness in telling the story makes it clear there's not much to hide. Obviously, the story has earned its place in history as an important example of how determination can overcome all. It has also become an example of how a group with good leadership and a strong sense of community can stay together in the face of the harshest conditions. And that is the story of Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571. Pretty gross. What a survival story, though.
Yeah.
And like,
Incredible survival story.
even the guys that just stayed at the camp,
Yep.
amazing. Amazing that they survived.
So total time from crash to rescue, what was that, 2.5 months?
So the
72
first,
days. Yeah.
Yeah, the last people were taken off on the 72nd day. 71st day was when they first got the helicopters there.
After surviving a plane crash.
Yeah.
So some of
Broken
those
legs.
Yeah, some of those people had broken legs for 2 months before medical treatment. Like those bones would
They
be
would have started healing probably.
fusing, yeah.
Yeah.
They'd have to be rebroken and reset.
Yeah. And to like start eating people and then still be like, okay, we got to do something here.
Mhm.
Like, we got to get out of here.
Not even that, just the mental drain on being around that many dead bodies for that amount of time. Like, you couldn't get used to it, right?
No.
You couldn't get used to just having.
No.
And then the climb to get out of there, like they show what some of the mountains around look like in the footage that I saw of the crash site, and it's intense what they had to climb. Like to get over it today with modern climbing equipment would be difficult.
Nando and was it Perez?
Nando and Roberto. Gross story, but incredible story. Incredible.
The guy on the horse. I'd love to get his reaction of when he got the message of because he would have known the plane had crashed.
He knew about it.
Yeah, he would have
remembered hearing about it.
Yeah, getting the message of like, oh crap, we saw you last night, and I just got drunk and slept for 12 hours. Sorry,
I can't imagine. Like, I would imagine that for them seeing him and then he just leaves.
Yeah, you'd be like,
what would that feel like?
Yeah,
they were weak too.
I guess
44 kilos is not the weight a man should be.
That's what I weighed when I was 10 years old.
Yeah. I remember being in the 40s. Yeah.
And they had planes flying over like on the first couple of days. Like,
imagine that feeling. How did they keep going? Like,
and then the radio call would be just like you'd give up.
Yeah, but they didn't.
No, they didn't, and they survived. So scalps off to them.
Oh man, that's rough. And on that horrific note, I think it's time to say goodnight.
Yeah. Probably a note before that horrific note.
I'm sorry for that, everyone.
Sorry, Chiquitos.
Great story, though, I thought. Props to me. So,
two turboprops?
2 turboprops that stay in the air to me. Anyway, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Don't eat your friends.
Take it easy.
Unless they give you permission to.
That's true.
You've been listening to Cheeky Tales Podcast. If you'd like to see supplemental images related to our episodes or to interact with us about our episodes, hit us up on @CheekyTalesPod on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can watch our episodes on YouTube or listen to them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.